All right, let's do a sound check here. Looks like you guys should be able to hear me. Looks like you guys are seeing the closed captioning down there, so that's good. We are in Rocky. We are doing some werewolf stuff tonight. We're going to be getting the lab ready. Let me show you guys some things. Well, I'll wait a minute. Give people another minute to show up here. See who our first chatter is tonight. And while we do that, just finished a project for my college, so that's out of the way. Let me show you guys what we got going on here for the next few weeks, in case anybody wants to hang out with the Professional Linux Users Group. It is free, don't charge anything for it. You just come and hang out. We've got Ryan on Sundays running the Code Cove, and I think he's just been kind of building this little Blitz bot that's been running in the background and doing stuff in our nodes, doing stuff like you can ask for the lab link and you could do all these other things. There's just all kinds of good stuff going on down there. And then we're going to have on the 7th a guest speaker come in. Our guest speakers are always free. You can come and hang out. You can ask them questions. You can talk about what they do in the industry. It's going pretty good, Quartz. I just got a paper done. I always prep and then I just wait until the last minute to write my papers. So, yeah, so I was working on a paper tonight. It was more of a presentation, but it was still paper. Yeah, Doc, it's okay. It doesn't matter for people that are amateurs. That's the goal here. Get you guys from being amateurs into pros, right? We want you to, feel comfortable in doing this stuff and get into it. So this, so that's the Code Cove is every Sunday with Ryan, Salty Catfish, and then engineering and pre-sales engineering. That's an engineer I've known and respected for a long time. He's very good at what he does. And then we'll focus on the 14th. We're going to start doing this. It's going to be a 16-week course. And I'm going to be putting it together. And, it's from Saturday to Saturday. There's no requirement to come each week. But those who want to participate in the full course will have to post 2 times a week on the discussion topics that I post. And we'll have to turn in my worksheet assignments. So I'll be putting out assignments as we go. And people that want to do it can do it. And people that don't, well, I'm not going to force anybody to do it, right? It's only for people who kind of want to spend that time doing this stuff. So I got to prep this a little more. But I just wanted you guys to know these are all free events. People come and hang out and do, stuff. And it's good camaraderie. People have a lot of fun. If you're an engineer that doesn't get enough time with other engineers, I think that's one of the best places to do. In fact, I had to write a discussion post for my college this last week, and it dealt with like isolation for people. When you do everything online, and you don't have anybody else to talk to in your career field or whatever. And I was like, well, I don't really have that because I have like 2,400 people down there hanging out in Discord that we talk all the time. Yeah, Doc, some of the guys in there have known each other a long time, but there's new people. Over half the group has only been there for the last 3 months. We kind of had a little bit of a blow up in early May. We had only barely hit 1,000 people. So 1,400 of those people have only been around for a little bit. So I actually didn't want the group to grow too fast because I wanted it to absorb, and I wanted people to meet the Salty and Fisherman and all these different guys who have been around, kind of showing people around and mentoring them and all that stuff. Exunium, I'm going to show you guys here. This is kind of my plan for the course. So we're going to do Linux engineering for the enterprise. It's on site. It's actually online. When I used to teach this, when I used to teach any of this stuff at ITT Tech back in the day, when I first started teaching college, we did a lot of online. So this will be online instead of on site. Course description. This course addresses how the Linux systems work for administration level tasks inside a corporate environment. This course will explore everything from the basics of building a server and fundamental command line tasks to advanced topics such as patching and web administration. So we'll do all of those things in this class, all right? So we won't actually get to build a server in this one. So we'll explore everything from the administration of a server, and we'll say Linux server, and fundamental command line tasks to advanced topics such as patching and web administration. We can do all of these things, but we can't. I still don't have the. I can't give you the capabilities of building server. We can watch servers build. I can show you guys all those things. I just don't have the capability, lest I were to give you root in my environment to kind of do anything you wanted. So there's that. All right, so we got some notes we got to put together from the other day. So let me pull these notes up, and let's just see kind of the way we want to etch this out a little bit, right? So server build and hardware components, we'll still do that. I still want you guys to understand that stuff. Command lines, tools, and syntax, that's still going to be huge. Basic scripting, Linux networking and security practices. I'm going to put those in their own too. Linux networking. And then we'll make this. I don't know why these numbers aren't numbered, but that's fine. I'm fine with it being whatever it is. Automation and remediating tasks, implementation. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's fine. That's fine. High level. You need to be able to explain the server build process and hardware system components. That'll be fair. Analyze system security and implement basic hardening of a system. We will be doing that. Instruct command line syntax to explore the system and gather resource information. That's going to be critical. Construct scripting structures and assign variables, conditional tasks, and recording output to generate scripts that do basic system tasks. Fair. We'll also do that with Ansible. Analyze and troubleshoot the Apache web server. Analyze and troubleshoot NFS Samba file shares. Fine. We won't do SC. We probably will just touch on SC Linux a little bit. I'll probably turn it on so it's at least in permissive mode, and then you guys can see what happens there. So that'll be good. Describe the setup network services such as that. We can do all that. Configure DHCP. No, we're not going to necessarily do that. But perform. Right, and perform Ansible tasks to automate deployment to servers. That's going to be an important thing that you do. Let's see, what else can I do in this lab environment? We can do system. Yeah, that can be the major course objectives there. We'll look at DHCP probably in the server build process a little bit, Xunion, but I won't spend a lot of time setting up DHCP if that's, yeah, DHCP. We won't set up a lot of time with that. We could spend a little time. Maybe I'll do like a topical, like I'll do a question on it and you guys can go find some information out about it in one of my little like reflection type questions. Cortisol Dana got let go from DC Tech Precision, which sucks because currently studying for art. Oh, that sucks, man. Yeah, Cortisol, we just had my brother just had a bunch of layoffs at his company. He's still employed, but man, that same place I used to work, AAA, man, they just go through rounds of layoffs every single year right now. And that's got to be super demoralizing for people because it's like, man, how do you sit around and plan to like stay with a company if they're just like chopping whole groups of people out every now and then, you know? And I would say since 2020, they've had at least 4 layoffs. They may have had like 5 or 6 layoffs since 2020. I don't want to say it's a rough place to work because it's real easy to be good over there, but I'm saying like people come and go from there and there's a fair amount of churn. I think I told you guys when I was the red team lead over there for the tech side of things. I wasn't a manager. I'm never a manager, guys. And what happened was my manager and the director above my manager got fired. And when that happened, I reported directly to the chief information security officer of the company. And that's when I left. I was like, I don't need to be the only guy talking directly to the CISO when our team's kind of a mess. Because our metrics were not good. Like our reporting of things was not what I would consider good at the time. So, all right, I think that's fair for our setup, our start. And then we'll come down here and the minimum things will be, we'll do some cloud stuff on Killer Coda. And then I've also got lab access for people for these machines. That will still be the way that we do it. That's good. And then our course plan. So we got to figure out how we're going to do this. And I say 12 to 15 learners. We'll take as many people as I can take, I guess. Brown bag sessions 1 time per week on Saturdays. There will be a total of 16 sessions. Fair. Yep. And I think I added all of them here. Nope. Oh, there we go. We already had another one. Good. Let's go forward one. Let's go back one. Okay, good. It's in response. Okay, so let's see what we want to put on here or take off. And then the date, we're going to start the date for this. Will be, what's the date in the Discord? Hold on. Got to go look at the events real quick. The start of this will be the 14th of September. 14th September. So we'll do that, and then we'll copy that all the way down, right? We'll do that date all the way down. Could probably do that in Excel faster than I can do this, but that'll be good, and it'll be every Saturday all the way down till the end. And if we have to miss any, that's not that big of a deal. We'll do that as we go. All right, so let's start with this will be initial Alexa server setup. Let's say get my first week in any class is always something like this. It's always get Linux lab access. So get you all servers, CLI. I'll get the server set up here shortly. We have a bunch of the servers built, but some of you guys remember, some of you probably don't remember. The other day when I took this node down, I added a whole bunch of storage. He's got 0% used of this lab SSD, which is 893 gigs. These are fast SSD disks that I put in here. So I'm going to, there's that. Extranium, you said, force people to blog to using AWS or GCP. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think people can do, so can I show you guys one that my college makes people do? And right, it's funny, right as I said that, I forget what it is. Hold on, what is the one that my college makes people do? It's called, oh, what the hell is that? Site for professional. There's a name for this, and I know it's going to be one of these top ones, because it's one of these ones that spend a bunch of money to be the top ones. Man, what the hell is the name of that? What the heck is the name of that project, guys? There's a thing I used to always make my students upload things to. It was called like web or shit. Can't remember, guys. It was called not like Trellix or something. It was called oh, I'm racking my Wix. That's what it's called. Have you guys ever heard of this site Wix? So we used to have Birdman person. Yeah, it's like one of those. But yeah, we used to make our students do at the college. I don't think we do this anymore at the college. But we used to, like, the projects, every project our students would do would go up here on Wix. And then they could pop up things if they wanted to, and they could show that to people as projects that they had done in the networking space or whatever. I probably won't do this, Exunyum. Like, I probably won't make people do this for the project. But what I would like people to do, or what I will require as part of the training, will be to do blog posts or whatever. So what the blog posts will be whatever we talked about for the week, and I'll go ask some questions down in the Discord, and then we'll just make it into a thread, and people can respond to the thread, throughout the week or whatever. Do 2 posts. I'm not going to do it like the college where it's got to be like 3 posts on 3 different days and all that crap. I think there's value in that. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want to make people do that kind of stuff, just if they want to do this course. Plus, if anybody wants to come and do the course, they can, but like only the people who do each week with me are going to be the ones who get the the little thing at the end. There will be a thing that we do at the end. So okay. Essential tools. Okay, so we'll probably keep those the same. We'll do storage. Storage can be the same. Operating running system. So I have all of these labs already, and I can update all these labs. Firewall D will be a good lab, so we can do that. Yum. DNF. Yep. We'll do some scripting. We'll do some web stuff, basics. I don't know if I even want to keep adding these ones like I used to. These ones probably have to change. Because it doesn't really make a lot of sense to learn the Apache stuff anymore. Not like it used to. We used to build lamp stacks a lot more than we do now. There's not really a reason to do that. We're gonna do engineering system baseline benchmarking and testing. We'll do engineering. Oops. Engineering. Troubleshooting. And then we'll do system hardening. Some of these topics we're going to hit in different things as well. But let's see what other ones here might be. Okay, okay. I put Nano on there because somebody said to. I don't really intend to show anybody anything with Nano. I think that's insanity. Yeah, Doc, I think what they were saying, I think what where is it? Whoever he was earlier was saying management. I think what he was saying was make people do blog posts of what we're doing. And I think that would be cool. I think that would be a good thing for people to do. I just don't think I'm going to require it, you know. Like I'm probably just going to do Ansible automation. Let's see. We'll get as much Ansible automation in as we can. You can't really do it in 1 week, but we'll get through what we can as we go. These, I think I'm going to need to change these. We'll see. We'll see what we can get to. All right, because I can't make everybody do everything, right? I mean, if I make everybody do everything, they'll stop being friendly. Nobody will want to hang out anymore. Software security, monitoring. I kind of need to do. Let's pull this down here. Let's take. This will be monitoring systems, right? Like, how do we monitor systems? Engineering troubleshooting. There we go. That's good enough for government work, right? It's good enough for a free course. Oh yeah, Mint. Lamp stack. That's how we used to do everything. But nowadays, like we microservices, you really just should have everything separated out nowadays. So it might be better for me to change this to like K3's setup and basics, and this one could be K3s advanced with microservices. Because while I don't sit around and code microservices all day, I can absolutely show you how to set them up and run them and troubleshoot and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, Cuddlingus, it's, you're right, that's a little, I mean, I do want to show people more technical interview prep stuff. I was hoping some of our, I know Fisherman had talked about doing it. I know Sending had talked about doing it. Some of the guys that have kind of been around our group for a long time. I mean, shoot, I can show a lot of that stuff now. We can go over that now if you guys want technical interview prep stuff. I don't mind showing you guys that, like even going off topic here, right? Like this, I mean, in general, when I'm online, you guys know I'm going to go over whatever the people ask, right? Like I'm just doing this because I needed to do something before the wife got home. I wanted to burn a little bit of energy off because I just got done with that paper. So yeah, I mean, let's do a little of that because I think that's actually pretty good. Let's go find. Sounds like the wife's home right now. Let's go find. Those are Linux Lab guides. Those are things I've done. So let's talk first about, yeah, so these are, I've shown you guys some of these before, but let's talk about like how I do technical interviews. I'll start on the Linux engineering side, but when I do technical interviews for people, right, I do them, they're very standardized. I will show you guys my template here that I use. So let's go with, so we had a senior HPC and a senior SRE, but let's do I also think I have a Linux one. Do I have the Linux one? Hold on. Let's just do it as site reliability engineer. Let's just say you wanted to be a site reliability engineer for the night. And then if these are useful to you or if these help you, I have other ones as well. Let's just put it that way, I guess. All right, so let me do this. I'll do it like this, and then I'll just leave that down there. And how's it going, Kool-Aid Man Jr.? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you, right? Like what we do here is we kind of talk tech, talk about systems engineering and Linux and all that good stuff. So this is an actual senior site reliability engineer technical interview that I gave. I tell you guys sometimes, and I'm not exaggerating, I'm probably selling myself a little short. I've probably done about 350 or more interviews. 300's on the low end, probably maybe up over 400 now, technical interviews that I've given to people, right? And I'm always brought in as the technical guy. I'm always the guy who, kind of gives it straight. Yeah, Doc, that's a good point. I'm going to put Docker on there. Hold on. That's a really good point. I just looked over there, and that is a good point. Where's this at? Docker. We'll start with Docker. And then K3 setup and basics. Yeah, because people should know how to set up a Docker file. All right. So, had an interview today. First tech one ever. Was nervous, but the panel was pretty friendly. Nice, Quartz. Yeah. And I'll show you what I look for in a technical interview. This is how I set them up. This is how I do them, and kind of what it looks like. So you guys will find when you see me do any testing methodology, when you see me do anything as an engineer, it will always have these things to it. There may be more. There will never be less. Sometimes I add, there's some things that I could add, I guess, in here depending on if it was like a very specialized type of thing. But for the most part, it's a purpose, a scope, that's in scope and out of scope, my methodology, and then my control. How do we keep this the same across the different people that we come and ask? And the point of this, and the reason I do these, is to make something that is very subjective, like I like you or I don't like you in an interview, into something that is objective, meaning whether you put me or unplugged me and put Quartz 1 in there, or unplugged him and put Cuddlingus in there, whoever it is that's sitting there should come to roughly the same outcome. Now, granted, there's some, we need to know some things about systems, and we need to understand some things about, how these different pieces work and stuff. But, by and large, you I am an interchangeable piece at that point, as long as the other person knows systems in some way. So here's what we were going to do. Purpose. We wanted to select our next senior site reliability engineer for the team. Now, guys, this is a real one I did. This is actually real. I did this for a contract job that I was on. Scope. Technical questions to determine capability to execute on the job duties. I was given the job duties. I will show you them. I did not have control over those. Those came to me, and I worked this out from that. Out of scope. Personality fit. Didn't care if I liked you. Didn't care if your hair was neatly done. Didn't care if you were wearing a tie. None of that. Non-technical capabilities. I didn't care if you could run four flat 40. I don't care. Right? That's hard to do anyways, right? That's like college football players. But methodology. Apply an approach to objectively determine the best technical candidate. That's what I wanted to do. Ask the same questions, get the same responses. And me and one other guy, 4 flat 40 is pretty damn fast. There's probably only 1 or 2 people a year in the combine that might be able to do that. Yeah. Actually, so the first time I ever heard that term was there was a show when I was a kid. It was a cartoon, and these football players got pulled into King Arthur's realm. And I remember the one guy telling King Arthur, he's like, "I can run a 4 flat 40," and he's like, "Yeah, but that was you in football pads, not in full set of armor." And then I don't remember what the thing was, but he was a really fast guy. So, anyways, control. The same questions will be asked of both candidates, or in this case, all candidates, right? This one originally was for just 2 candidates, but then this expanded out to, we ended up doing like maybe 10 of these total before we found the right person. All right, so here were the specific responsibilities that were given to me by the team. They had to be able to use standard systems management practices. They have to lead planning, development, and coordination of the team, operations, and projects. That maps to question 1. So when we get to my questions, that's what generated question 1. So when you see the questions and then you think back to these, it'll make sense. Provide recommendations regarding infrastructure, operations, automation, site reliability, and self-service enablement for systems and services. We were running a big high-performance compute cluster, and it makes sense that people should be able to use that infrastructure as often as they need to, and maybe even give themselves their own self-service, so they're not always coming to us for allocations. They're just coming to us for problems, Provide guidance to junior staff, right? That's a question. Serves as support escalation point for all related projects and incidents. I didn't really feel that warranted its own question. There was a very specific one about cold front and dashboards for HPCs, so I asked a question there. Training needs, self-coordinates a timeline with management, information technology trends and develop frameworks, creates or expands solutions for advancing development frameworks and reviews code with team and peers. So do they know how to do code reviews? Do they know how to use Git? These kind of things. Recommends updates to operating systems within HPC. That was another question. Like, look at this. Assist with technical strategy and roadmap creation and updates. Like, I had to believe that they were going to be... I said roadmap. I know, I kind of... Anyways, all right. Develops project timelines for ongoing projects within the team. Troubleshoots HPC systems. So they need to know some troubleshooting. You guys know I love asking troubleshooting questions because the way a person thinks through troubleshooting and can explain it, I think directly relates to how many times they've done that late at night, And then on the call support, all that kind of stuff. Data and metrics to support requirements for design and budget decisions. Like, if we want to say we need to spend $10 million next year on this cluster, do we have the data and metrics to support that? And when this guy came in, the guy who eventually got this position, I did quite a bit to show him how to do data and metrics around some of the tools that were available and that kind of stuff. So, okay. Some competencies. This is the things they wanted. Now, this was for a college that I was working for, so they wanted these things, but again, you can't really do that. Thorough knowledge of software development frameworks, infrastructure, and associated technologies, and then experience with bash programming and knowledge of procedural and object-oriented coding. Yeah, Cuddlingus, these are directly from the questions on the job posting, yes. This was their responsibilities, and this was their competencies, yes. Now, this is a senior site reliability engineer, so this is somebody who knows the industry or has been in the industry. This was not an entry-level position. We were adding this position to this team that had never been there, and we were really trying to reach for somebody who was really good in this space. So, All right, so look, competencies. This is how I ask my questions. This was up on my screen when they came to sit in front of me. I only had 30 minutes. So it was me and one other guy, a guy named Mac. And me and Mac sat there. And it was funny. When we did these interviews, he and I probably gave about 20, maybe close to 25 interviews on this team over the last year. And it was not just for this position. This position was about 8 or 9, maybe even 10 people. And then we were trying for an HPC engineer for a long time too. And me and Mac, when we got done, we were within about 2 points of each other every single time. Yeah, Gan, thanks for coming by. I appreciate it. All you guys that followed, I appreciate that. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. So here's the first one. I just ask an open-ended question, and I'll ask this, and then you guys can sit here and think about this for a second. How would you answer this? So my very first one is, what are some project management methodologies you've used, and how might you apply them here? Right? So you're coming in to be a site reliability engineer. What are some project management methodologies you've used, and how might you apply them here? So I want you to think about that for a second. I'm going to go back here. This is the very first question right here. So, what are some project management methodologies you've used, and how might you apply them here? I would accept there. These are the things I would expect somebody to tell me. I would expect them to say agile nowadays. Agile is a very common one. I might hear waterfall methodology. That's a common one. I might hear Kanban. I might hear safe agile. I might hear ITIL. ITIL's technically a project management methodology. I might expect somebody here to say PMBOK, project management body of knowledge. That's a project management methodology. It doesn't have to be IT based. There's nothing here that says that this project management methodology needed to be. Yeah. Ex-Shunya, we definitely use we used waterfall over at Lockheed Martin for a long time. So yeah, Kanban, there's all kinds of them, right? That I would say, look, just going and putting sticky notes on a whiteboard that all your team can see is better than nothing. It's better than just yelling at them every morning that they're not getting anything done. Runamucker, I always message the PM before I log off, but never after I log in. Yeah. Same thing with my boss, right? Because bosses, much like T-Rexes, their vision is based on movement. So if you're not moving the Slack messages, and if you're not doing other things like that, they don't even remember you exist. So yeah, that's the goal, Runamucker, is dodge all the extra work tasks that can come your way, right? All right. So that's one. So you think about that, like what might you do, and how would you bring that up, and how would you talk through that, right? And if you don't have any project management methodologies, go, pull up a notepad. Yeah, Cheeto, thank you for that. Yeah, excellent analogy. I try to make this stuff memorable for you guys. If not great, at least memorable, right? So what are some project management methodologies you've used? So if you were watching this, right, and you were just like, all right, Scott's insane, but he's saying some things. So PM methodologies, right? You might say, what did I mention? I mentioned ITIL. That is a methodology. I mentioned waterfall, agile, safe, agile, which is its own little beast. Kanban. There's probably a whole bunch of those ones too. Hey, Blazebits, how's it going? You were over there working earlier, and I was hanging out while I was working on my paper. But my paper's all done now, so now I'm messing around with my my buddies here, and Robodom's here. Everybody's here. But I'll start over real quick just to show you guys what we're talking about, because I know some of you guys are interested in kind of seeing what we're doing. So I was originally building this course that I've been putting together for a while. Whoops, that's not it. And the course is, a 16-week course on Linux systems administration for the professional Linux users group. Anybody will get access to it later, but for now it's just going to be for our professional Linux users group. And I have access to my labs at home and systems, and then here's the 16 weeks and all that kind of stuff, right? Also, thanks for the Prime Rizushi. You could use that anywhere, but you chose to use it here, so I appreciate that. And then what happened was we were just kind of talking a little bit, and we were talking about somebody mentioned getting some Rizushi. You used a Prime sub, so those are free, and you could use them anywhere on the platform, but you only get one a month. So I appreciate that. That's pretty cool. All right. So what I was doing was I had a senior SRE technical interview that I had to give over at this contract job that I had been on. So I work for a company called Redline, and I do contract work to different government entities and colleges and just big high performance compute things. And they needed a site reliability engineer, right? So what we did was I put together, and I always do this every time you give me something that I have to make objective. Meaning, subjective is like, I like BlazeBits, so I'm gonna hang out in his channel. That's subjective, because other people might be like, I don't like the guy, right? But how do you? That's subjective. But objective would be, I take BlazeBits, and then I take like some of the other guys that I watch, like Sid Heresy, or like Kai, who goes over and kills people in Dead by Daylight. And what I do is I lay them out against this, and I say, okay, I'm going to weigh them against these different things, sound quality, and if they're playing a video game that I want to watch, and all these different types of things. And then I can get an objective set of numbers, which look like this, around who I want to watch for the night. Now, look, guys, that's not really how we operate in life, but when we're trying to pick the right person for a job, and you're asking me to be the technical guy in the interview, right? You want me to hammer people. I don't like hammering people, but I do like making sure that they can do the work. So, purpose, scope, out of scope, methodology, control. This was what we were talking about earlier. You will see this against any set of things that you ever ask me to test. I will do at a minimum these 5 things. I'll write it up in my test, always. Methodology may be longer or shorter, depending on what we're doing. But then we had, this is the actual job requirements here. And that's where my questions were derived from. And then here's the competencies, and that's where they had, this was a college, so they had some things they wanted you to be able to do and know. And then down here were my questions. And we just got through the first one. And what I was doing was I was showing, if you were doing this with me and you said, hey, Scott, I don't know a single heck thing that you said, but could you, what would I do to learn that better? Then this is what I would say to do. Go open up a notepad. I'm using LogSec here. That's LOGSEQ. I also, sometimes you guys have seen, I'll pull up my Notepad++, which is cool because you can use it in dark mode. And I'll just slap notes down, right? But in this case, I just was showing you guys, if you wanted to know some project management methodologies that you may use in IT, you'll run into ITIL, Waterfall, Agile, Safe Agile, Kanban, and probably about a billion others. To answer that question about the course, we're going to do it down in the Discord. So Discord is always free. This was me complaining earlier about not wanting to write a paper for college. We're going to start it on the 14th of September. That's my time, but if you're in Discord, you can get all that stuff. Rizushi, I actually don't even know about Neorg and Suyon. I don't even know those ones, unfortunately. But there's this. There's also, look, every Sunday we have Salty Catfish come, and he's been a professional coder for like 15 years. He's been a team lead the entire time I know him, which is about the last 4 years. He's been a software engineering team lead that shows people how to use Git and shows people how to properly work on a team and all those things, right? And then on September 7th, we've got somebody he's actually a good buddy of mine that works at Red Hat, and I've worked with him professionally. He's very good, and he's going to talk about engineering. He's a very talented engineer, but he also teaches people what pre-sales engineering is, which not everybody knows what that is, and there's good money. Some people don't want to be an engineer all the time on stuff, but there's other things that are engineering adjacent that are still good for you to go, they're good for your soul and they're good for your pocketbook, right? All right, anyways, down here, describe an automation tool you've applied or a pipeline you've built for deployments. What worked well, what didn't? So for this question, maybe automation, you have AWS pipelines, you got Jenkins, you've got VRO, which is vRealize Orchestrator, which is a tool that comes directly from VMware, right? What are some other ones that we use? Ansible, Tower typically, or AAM now, which is Ansible Automation, AAP, Ansible Automation Platform, right? And that would also be AWX, which is their free and open source version. what other automation tools are out there? There's one called Zool. If you guys have never seen Zool, Zool is the gatekeeper, right? So these are automation tools, and I just want to know, over the course of, I only had 30 minutes with these guys, so I had to blast through these questions. But somebody who's used a tool, somebody who can tell you about how VRO is just a set of tasks that you set up in JavaScript that then can then go interact with either widgets or credentials that you put in them, and they can kick off Tower Jobs or Jenkins, or they can kick off AWS pipelines. Terraform, Pulumi, Dagger. There we go. I've never used Dagger, right? Oh, there's also Salt. I didn't even think about this. Puppet and Chef. Although Salt, Puppet, and Chef are probably going to be, companies that have been using those for a long time. Those are all getting, slowly moved out of. They're not as popular as they once were. There are automation tools that are very, very specific. These are more of managers, but they're very specific to high performance compute. There's Werewolf, XCat, and it's actually XCat like that, and then it's 2, so it's XCat 2. And then what are other ones here? There's HPCM, and then there's Shasta, although Shasta's pretty much gone. Shasta, like that, yep. Shasta was by Cray, and then Cray got bought by HPE, and then HPE uses HPCM, so they don't really get much of that other stuff. So, yeah, Ansible. And that's, look, we could, most people can at least do some quick and dirty Python. I would accept Perl, too. I learned on Perl. That was the first language I ever cut my teeth on, right? But I just want, whatever tool the person chose to talk about here. They could talk about Jenkins the whole time. I've really only used Jenkins. Like, I've really only supported it and kicked off, like, the most basic, like, HTTP type triggers and type, webhook calls and stuff with it. I wouldn't say I'm an expert on it for sure. Yeah, Bash would be good. Yeah, actually, me and Mac were like the two senior guys. He and I were both accepting of pretty much anything somebody wanted to talk about in any of these senses. Because here's the thing, you could know the word Terraform, but do you understand how Terraform does a Terraform plan and downloads all of its providers? So, like, as you start to talk about these, since I have some knowledge in most of these, at least some high level for a lot of them, and then real deep in others like this, I've set these up professionally many times for people. Like, I can talk about them or dig in or talk about concepts and just find out over the course of the 2 minutes or so that I've got on each question, how well does this person know it? And then again, I'm not being subjective. I'm not like, oh, I really liked their answer, it was so cool. How complete was the answer? I'm going to give them a number. I'm going to make it like it's a little survey, and I'm going to get an objective score when I'm done of how well somebody did or didn't do, right? So, back over here, what's your experience with Git or another SVN? What are some best practices you'd like to see from your junior engineers, right? And they might tell me, hey, I've been using Git for a while, and I like to keep main clean, and then everybody works on their own branches, and then they do pull requests and code reviews twice a week. I don't know. Everybody works, software engineers might do code reviews every day. I don't know. I've never been on a software engineering team. That's not what I do. But I am over on the systems world, and we do have to do some code review over there because we do have big projects and things that get checked in and all that kind of stuff, and we got to keep track of that, right? So I just want to know what their experience is with it. And they're going to be a senior, right? Senior site reliability engineer, so they have to be able to tell me about what they'd want from a junior engineer. So there's that. All right. Then the next one, describe any experience you have with ColdFront. If none, what type of HPC user management tool have you used? What was your experience with it? So this was, we were in a high performance compute environment. We wanted to know what this person had done with that. And we did not expect anybody to really have a lot of experience here. This was just kind of one of those test questions that we expected everybody was going to kind of do poorly. And pretty much everybody did not do well on this one, but some people have at least managed users, and we could use that to say, well, they might not have cold front or HPC user management experience, but they've managed thousands of users in a system, and that's a little better than nothing. Oh, Runamucker, yeah, I don't even know what Terraform I took my test on, because I just let my Terraform lapse earlier this year. Sorry, it was... Oh, shoot, it wasn't earlier this year. It was late last year. It was November of last year now. Gosh, it's been almost a year since I let that lapse. So I don't even know what version I took the test on. I also let Vault lapse. I had the Vault associated as well. This one, what type of code reviews have you done? What would you implement here if you had no program for reviews, for scheduled reviews currently? And they could tell us whatever they want. In fact, the person who eventually came in, they did weekly code reviews over our repos, right? We had a few repos that hadn't even really, he actually had to put most of our stuff in repos, right? So it was like review, one thing was like review of all old cron jobs. We had cron jobs running in this cluster that had been set up, almost 10 years ago by people. And it was just chilling, just doing stuff. And we're like, we need to get this all under control. And then for me, one of my tasks was I Ansibleized all that, right? So I turned most everything into Ansible in the whole environment. Everything I could touch, I turned to Ansible. I was like one of those, what was it, a basilisk that just walks around turning everything around it to stone and scorching all the earth? That's what I was doing, just turning everything to Ansible. And everything worked better. All right, this one. This one got a lot of people because, like, what types of operating system updates have you done? Think about that real quick. If you answer me here, right? Oh, I've done, I've updated my Windows machine. I've updated a Linux system in the lab. I'd be like, well, that's good. Okay, that's probably like a 3 answer. Like, you understand keeping a system up to date. But what I wanted here, if we're talking operating systems and somebody who's like a senior engineer, I want them to have like deployed multiple systems or updated a whole bunch of systems. I see we have a coffee maker. Let's turn it into Ansible. Yeah. Can we trigger it with Ansible? Can we kick it off with it? So what type of operating system updates have you done? Can you describe the process you've used? Another thing I really wanted to know here was, did they understand like lifecycle management? We patched the lower environments first. I don't care if they knew like Satellite really well. I don't care if they knew Pulp or any of these other tools well. What I cared was that they understood that we don't just drop stuff in prod. Before stuff gets to prod, we drop it in a lower environment first, right? Yeah. Yep. I wanted to know that they understood how this part worked. And this could be, as mentioned over on YouTube, re-platform, sometimes you don't, nowadays with microservices, you don't actually even update operating systems. You might say, hey, you know what? I haven't done a lot with operating systems, but I've done a lot with microservices, and I've rolled forward my deployments so that I go from like a blue older to a newer green version of a application, and I've rolled that forward and tested, and I've done all that. And that would be, you know what? Not everybody's done hardcore, low-level operating system updates. So I would accept something like that because they understand the process of rolling through. So rolling through updates, blue, green, canary, one box. These are terms for how we update. Blue, green, canary, one box. How we update rolling through systems. So it's blue to green. You always go green in that sense, right? And how do we do that? All right, so the next one we had. Hey, Jay Bricks, thanks for the follow. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. This next one is, what troubleshooting methodologies have you used? Can you describe an incident where you were involved and how you found the resolution? Now, what I don't expect from somebody is the 7 steps of a proper incident is describe the problem, lay out like, I don't care that people do that kind of stuff, right? They don't have to give me the exact ways that we do troubleshooting, but they should be able to describe a way that they looked at a problem and took it apart. I went in and I pinged the device. I could not ping the device, so I went to the console. At the console, I found the system ready, but it was not connected to the network as I couldn't ping it. So I jumped into it via the console. Root access was good. Once I got in there, I did a uptime, and I found that the system had only been up for 5 minutes. I did an IP adder, and I found that all the interfaces were not up. I tried to start the interfaces with an if up or an nmcli con up for the interface, and I tried to turn these interfaces on, and they would not start. So then what I did was I did an ETH tool and found that the interface that should have been the primary interface was not connected. And then I called up our data center guy, who was probably sleepy and going, oh yeah, I'll go check the rack. And he found that the cable was not plugged in. Now, there's all kinds of questions about how a cable would not be plugged in, guys. But I can tell you, sometimes cables are not plugged in. And how would you know, right? I showed you guys that before in like my home lab environment. I can't tell here, like this Rocky 1 box, he's got networking and it should be up to him. That networking should be to him. But if I go to that machine, right, if I SSH to Rocky 1, and I did happen to get in, but if I do an IP adder and I see his ETH0, and then I do an ETH tool, let's say I'm at the console, I do an ETH tool ETH0, I should see that the link detected is yes. If I turned this interface off right now, if I could turn it off, right? I don't know if I can actually turn it off while he's running, not in the system, but then this link would go to detected no, and we would not be able to track path of, I don't know, some traffic word I'm trying to say, out of the system, right? So that would be that, right? That would be it. But the point is, troubleshooting methodology, they knew how to get to the system through a secondary channel when the network was down. They knew how to go and check. First thing they did was check the update. The first thing I do is always update. No, you can't ping layer 2. You can only ping layer 3. No, Xshunya. In fact, even if in an ARP table you have a layer 2 device, you're still not going to be able to send anything to it over layer 2. What software is that created Rocky 1? It's a tool. Wait, are you asking for this, or are you asking for how did I do it over here? Because over here, it's a tool called Werewolf, and Werewolf is a open source high performance compute type cluster manager. Over here, this is a tool called XCPNG. XCPNG is, I have a half rack of servers sitting behind me in my home lab here, and there's 3 physical boxes, and then on them is XCP. XCP is the hypervisor, and then this is how I can control them. But then once they're up, I run them all through Linux, right? Yeah, it's a lot like Proxmox. I guess people have always been telling me to go to Proxmox. It's just XCPNG has always been convenient for me, and I have it up in the lab. I have some things that I can do with Ansible to build and destroy these nodes that actually I was going to start building out tonight, but I'll probably wait now because I can just hang out for a little bit more and talk to you guys about this stuff. UDLD is almost like ping, but on layers 1 and 2. Interesting. Yeah, Diamond, I've never used that. I don't know. What data metric gathering tools have you used? Describe how you collected the data. Same question, but with visualization tools. So, question 8, right? And we can take any one of these questions, and we can go map back to what did I want to know. Provides data and metrics to support requirements for design and budget decisions. So we got to question 8, and I said, what data metric gathering tools have you used? Describe how you collected the data. Same question, but with visualization. What I wanted to see here, what I wanted to hear from people, was did they understand that we gather metrics from servers, and we gather logs from servers, and we set up and we gather whatever else. Oh yeah, is that over on the YouTube side said how to set up XCPNG. Is it open source? It is open source. It is free and open source, so you can use it. The site for XCPNG is right here. Oh, look at that Ranger dog. XCP-NG. I was building system templates a while back, apparently. Let's just go to their default page here. Yeah, XCPNG is Seamless Hypervisor. It's pretty good. They have a front end Zen Orchestra dashboard, but I don't like this because you have to, like, you get it for a year free, and then they're always trying to get you to update and do their license and stuff. So I don't use that. There is a free and open source desktop tool that you can use. So that's Zen XCPNG. It's a fork. So when Zen got bought by Oracle, this got forked off, and they're over. Was that a million? Over a million downloads. I've been using it in the home lab for years, and it works pretty well for me. So, right, check on Ranger. Frickin' Ranger. All right. So what data metric gathering tools have you used? I would take Prometheus. So right, like data gathering. So you can do, so there's always ingest, there's always collection or aggregation, and then there's display. Those three things pretty much always happen in some way in the system, right? And your tools for each of these are all kind of different. So on your ingest, you've got any of the beats. So there was a whole bunch of beats: metric beat, disk beat, all kinds of things. Yeah, if the Great American Backhoe has been cut through there. Yep. So any of the beats, you can have telegraph. You can have node exporter. And there's all kinds of node exporters for Prometheus. There are, what other ones can we have? Those are probably some of the more common ones. Any of the beats, any of the telegraphs, any of the node exporters. You can ingest. So data comes into your system from, and I have an actual visual on this for you guys. Some of you guys have seen this in my home lab, where, see if I can just open recent. Do I have it as one of my recents? Yeah, here's my monitoring in the home lab, right? This is the way that I do monitoring in the home. Promtail agent, that's another one. So, these are the things that are gathering over here. Here's our aggregations over here. And then where do we end? We end over at Grafana, right? Typically. So display is almost always Grafana, but collection aggregation can be Influx DB. It can be Prometheus. Those are very common. It can be Kafka. Kafka can do that. You can have Kinesis up in the cloud, right? Kinesis data streams, all those kind of things. Yeah. Syslog is also, an ingester. 100% Syslog. Graylog in that matter. Right? These things can send data into your system. Yeah, collection aggregation can be Syslog. Right? Your display and also aggregation can be Splunk. If you pay money for Splunk, Splunk will do all kinds of visualizations for you. Splunk will also be a place that you can send data. And you can have, sometimes I've had to support this, a Splunk agent, right? So there's all these things that can gather data in your environment and send them over. All I wanted this person to be able to say was they understood that all the systems were sending Victoria Metrics. I don't even know what that is, but I believe you. What is that, an aggregation? Right? And we'd be very remiss if we didn't drop in a Nagios, right? Nagios is king. Killer Code has almost all of the above. Nice. I think Killer Code is one of the best things on the web for you guys, by the way. Like, you could start this for free, you can get in there, you can do stuff, and you don't even need a guy like me. You can just go do the stuff. But if you want to hang out and do that stuff, like I do the labs on Sunday that we've written up. We've made a lot of labs now. Zabbix, Zabbix actually comes from Nagios. Right? There's other ones. There's a lot of them. I'm just giving some. You could do Python, right? Python can do all of this too. I don't think you really do the aggregation. I guess you could use like what's that dashboard everybody uses, or not dashboard? What's that database everybody uses that's real lightweight? Oh, it's Postgres. I guess you could do that instead of any other. But the point is, we could just keep adding tools to all this. I'm just giving you guys stuff to go look at and think about, right? Yeah, SQL would work absolutely for your aggregation, Robodom, 100%. Oh, I mean, what's another one? Oh, this one's huge for me. Is Loki. Loki's a great aggregator. I love. You just throw data at it from an API. It's just an open web API. You can have certificates, and then you just chuck data at it, and it'll just catch data. Thousands of transactions a second, no problem. Even on a pretty small, lightweight box, can do pretty well. So. All right, so then I said describe some bash. So this one goes to question 9. Describe some bash scripting concepts in another language another language you've used for scripting, and how have you implemented this in production, right? So obviously he could say bash, he could say Python, he or she. We had a couple females go for this role. Bash, Python, Ansible, Perl, yeah, any of those. How have you implemented this in production? So how did you productionalize it? Did you push it up to a GitHub and then it got pulled down via like AWX or Tower? Did you toss it over the wall and have somebody else implement it on your team? Like what, how was it implemented, right? And people will tell you about it, right? How they did it. And then I said, describe a software development framework you've worked with, what was good about it, what was bad about it. This would also be your waterfall and your agile, typically. I'm sure there's some other ones in there for like software development. But this is one of these things. This was 30 minutes worth of questions that people would get from me from a technical interview standpoint. And this is kind of what I would come out with at the end. Here's the max score they could have. Here's the responses they did get. And this is a made up person. This is not real. And then they had a 27 overall. 27 wasn't super good. I think the person we hired ended up with like a 44 or 46 or something, which is much more of like kind of what we were looking for, you know? All right. So, guys, I got to get off of here soon. So let's go find somebody to raid. I will keep working on this the next few nights and keep getting some of this stuff. Does anybody want these notes? I will give the notes if anybody needs them in the Discord. But if not, they will be lost to the ether. I'll drop them down in meeting notes on the Discord. Remember, there's a bunch of events coming up. You guys are welcome to go hang out in any of those. There you go, boom. Those were things that we were talking about in the meeting today, or in our little chat here. Let's go find. That's me talking. Let's go find who's on the interwebs here. Who's doing stuff out there. Let's go see what's going on the interweb. Let's go run over to Running Man. We haven't seen Running Man in a while. He is a different genre, but he is running around playing some games right now. If you guys want to hang out and chill, I might hang out over there a little bit because I'm gonna go talk to the wife for a little bit, and then I'll sit in here for maybe a little bit longer. But I appreciate you guys all coming. Hang out down in the Discord because that's where all the engineers hang out, and I will talk to you guys later.